We've been following breaking news out of Tanzania this morning where several people have been rescued after a commercial plane with a number of passengers on board crashed into Lake Victoria.
Yeah, really remarkable pictures that we're seeing. You can see passengers standing on the wings of the plane as rescue boats ferry them back to shore. A spokesperson for Precision Air, which owns the aircraft, says the plane went down near an airport located on Lake Victoria's western shore. And in a tweet, Tanzania's president sent his condolences to those affected and urged calm while rescuers continue to search for survivors. Let's talk more about this now with Mary Schiavo. She is a former inspector general for the U.S. Department of Transportation and a CNN transportation analyst. Hi there, Mary. So just looking at the pictures, what do you assess, at least in terms of how the pilot reacted and what may have happened?
Well, if they were taking off over water, I mean, that's the most dangerous part of the flight, of course. And this plane, an ATR, they used to fly in the United States, but they really don't anymore. There were a couple crashes, and especially crashes in icing that really saw them pass out of service from the U.S. But the remarkable thing is, as you reported, that people were standing on the wings because planes, don't make very good boats, and often they sink. Everyone remembers the Miracle on the Hudson, where people were standing on the wings on the Miracle on the Hudson. But what people didn't realize is a lot of boats came quickly, and they got lines on the aircraft, pulled the lines taut to keep it from sinking. So the fact that they were able to get the pilot was able to get the plane down without crashing into the water, but looks rather like landing in the water, is really pretty good without knowing much more than that at this point. So the fact that 26 already have been rescued out of 43 passengers on board, that's very good for a crash or a landing, if you want to call it that, a water landing.
Yeah, Mary, we're just getting that information now from the airline and the Tanzanian authorities. It appears as though they are still in communication. They were able to communicate with the pilots in the cockpit even when the plane was submerged. Can you walk us through the process of this kind of a rescue or an emergency landing as the plane is going down? What are the flight attendants supposed to be doing?
Well, flight attendants, because it's water's involved, there are a couple things. First of all, they have to get them ready for a braced landing, for a crash landing, if you will. And then they also have to get people now on a plane of this size, depending on whether it usually operated over water, it may not have life vests. What they may have to use for flotation is their seat cushions. But if they regularly fly over water, then they would have had life vests, would have been required, depending upon the rules of the nation. So the flight attendants would have had to been getting them in their life vests if they had them, but instructing them, do not open them in the cabin. You have to wait until you get out, because otherwise you could get trapped in the cabin. So they have double emergency duty to do when it's suspected that they're going to land on water. But since they're standing on the wing and it appears that they we're able to get those messages across and get them out. Now, the problem also comes in some of the plane is submerged, of course. And so getting people out once they're underwater is very difficult. Lighting becomes an issue. That's a real problem. And so they literally would have to help lead people, get people out of the plane, which has happened in other water landings. The flight attendants have to become, rescue lifeguards.
It's a total of 43 people on board, and so far 26, so more than half have been rescued. That is good news. Just want to ask you about this. I found this interesting. A local official was quoted as saying that they are trying to check if the wheels of the plane hit the ground underwater. And just judging from the pictures, you can see the water is pretty shallow. People are standing, and it's up to some people's knees and waist. Is there a chance does it look like to you that the wheels did hit the ground of that lake?
Yes, that would explain why it didn't sink, because planes sink very, very quickly. And that would explain also why, if the plane is resting on the ground and people are still able to get out, why there is, at this point, without knowing more, there's a very good chance that perhaps everybody could have survived. So miraculous that the wheels have touched the ground. Otherwise, the plane would sink very quickly, extremely quickly. In fact, and when I went through flight school, the instruction was, if you've landed on water and get your passengers and you out, don't, for any reason, if the plane, even if it hasn't sunk yet, do not go back to that aircraft, because it will sink quickly.